Hello and welcome to this edition of Motivation and Money with me, Mark Terrell, and my co-host, Fanny Snaith. How are you, Fanny?
Excellent, thank you. Very good, very good.
Good stuff. Excellent. Right, well, we obviously have a bit of a chat beforehand to see what we're going to talk about, and we're going to be
Yeah.
talking about motivation and what drives people in certain professions. So we're going to
Mm.
deep dive into that in a little while. Before we do that, Fanny, what have you been up to in the last week or so? Anything exciting?
Yeah, well, I've been running my online course, which has been fantastic. So good. Everybody's digging into their money mapping, and it's fascinating. They're realizing the resistances they have to managing their money and then trying to get them motivated to actually do it, especially in these tricky times where
Hmm.
everything's going skyward, isn't it? So it's hard for some of them. They're finding it really hard. Others are able to jump on the wagon and just start getting right into them creating their money map, which is my word for a budget. But isn't it fascinating how our brains play tricks on ourselves and tell us how good we're going to be and how not good we're going to be, and that we
Hmm.
don't want to look at, especially when we're looking at something that we don't really want to look at because we know we're probably not going to see what we want to see, or we
Hmm.
know it's not all going to work out. But like the famous motivational speaker said, Jim Rohn, he said, we start with where we are with what we've got.
Indeed.
That's all we can do.
Very good. Well, glad to hear that's going well.
Hmm.
Um, my
Oh, the
week.
other thing I've been doing, one thing else I've been doing, which might
Mm,
interest me, we've been applying for student finance.
all
So
right.
good old good old student finance. I went on to apply for, you have to jump through about 8 million hoops. They've tried to make it easy, but bearing in mind that I'm supposed to be quite good at these things, I did wonder last night how I was able to apply for a loan which was supposed to be for my daughter, but actually ended up being for me.
Dear. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
so
So
yeah, I
you're
suddenly
so
thought,
you've got a student loan now, have you?
well, I
Under your
have
name.
cancelled it and it's okay. But yes, I did actually apply for a student loan for me to go to study law in September, which I'm not
Okay.
going to do.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, so it just shows how easy it is to make these mistakes, isn't it?
exactly. And how
Um,
many times you can go round and round in circles just trying to get things to work, and it just
yeah.
sometimes they just don't. And it's like,
Those
just
things.
be cool.
I just hate those sort of things, filling in forms and all those sort of things. It's just. But I think
Oh
it's
yeah,
probably your attitude that you go in with these things. You've got to go into the attitude, well, it's just one thing at a time and see what happens. Hello,
yeah.
Sarah. Sarah's joined us. Nice
Who's
to see
Sarah?
you've joined us, Sarah Stone. She's
Oh, hello, Sarah.
motivational map practitioner and does some great
Oh,
stuff
excellent.
with that. So
Oh, well,
good.
let's dive into it then, because then we can talk about
Yeah,
motivation.
yeah. So
That's
we're going to be
motivator.
talking about motivation today,
Yes.
Sarah, and particularly what motivates people, particularly in certain professions. So I'm going to share with you some data that I've
Okay.
driven. So the data comes from this book, Mapping Motivation for Coaching, which I'm sure Sarah's got, and it's one of the things that I refer to quite often. And I thought it would be interesting to talk about what drives people in certain professions. So just to give you well, I'll just break down some of the data what we've got here first of all. So you'll see there's sectors down on the left hand side, firstly, and then we then look at the top three motivators for these sectors. So what's interesting, first of all, is every single one of them has search a motivator as their number one. So their most important thing that they want to do is make sure they're doing something worthwhile and meaningful. So that's something to remember. If you are employing people, working with people, leading people, think about what implications that has for those people that come to work and want to do something that is meaningful and purposeful.
So hang on a second. Let's just do a little bit of a rollback here.
Yeah,
So for people who haven't listened before,
yeah.
this mapping motivation is a quiz.
Yes, it's a diagnostic, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, it identifies what motivates you. That's the
And
key
how many
thing.
questions do people answer?
Well, there is a number of questions, about 30 odd, I think. What
And how
essentially it
many
does, it
different
puts in order the motivators. So there are nine
and
motivators.
nine
Uh,
motivators?
so we need to find out which ones are most important to us. So essentially, that's what
Okay,
motivational map does.
right.
So
And
once you do
anybody
that,
can do this. anybody can do this thing with
They
you,
can, yeah, they need to
and
contact me. It's not something you
we'll
can
give you
find on the
details.
internet, but get in touch if you want to find out what motivates you. And you'll be finding out shortly what motivates you, won't you, surely?
I will. No, I seriously, I will.
Thank you for bringing back on track. So I got
Yeah, because
ahead of
sometimes
myself there.
exactly people sort of think, "What are you talking about?"
What am I talking about exactly? So I'm talking about a process called motivational maps, which identifies our top motivators. And then what we can do is then make conscious decisions around what we want from our work, make sure that we're doing things that actually fulfill those motivators. So back to where I was. So as I've
Yes.
just explained, that all these, how many have we got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 sectors of employment. Every single one of them, when we put all the data together, the most important motivator is searcher. So searcher is the
Yeah.
drive for meaning and making a difference, doing something that's worthwhile and purposeful. So as I said, it's important to remember that if you are leading a team, understanding, and as Sarah has mentioned as well, another detail that's important, it only takes about 10 minutes to complete a motivational map.
There you go. Thank you, Sarah.
Good job, Sarah's here. So what we're going to do is look at these 11 sectors, and what's the implications if these are the top motivators in that sector? What does that mean for if we were selling to that sector, or we were employing someone, or we want to go and work into that sector? Maybe these are the things that are going to help us to be more accepted and actually get better results. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because looking down that list, I mean, I'm not quite sure who they were talking to in construction or accounting, but it's interesting. I wouldn't if you were to ask me what do you think would be the motivators, I wouldn't have put banking and accounting as searchers. Would you?
So, but what it says is that on a personal level, people want to do something that they feel that is meaningful and purposeful. Now, these people have chosen to take a map, so these aren't people that have been told to do it. In most cases, I
Yeah,
think so. So that's something to bear in mind. But if you think about the
interesting.
results here,
Yeah,
it's. I mean, I'm not surprised by them, and I think people do want to go to work to feel that they're doing something that's worthwhile and meaningful. That's what I tend to find, especially if they run their own business. But
yeah.
uh,
Okay.
so let's just analyze one of these sectors and see what it comes out with. With my sort of head on with being a motivational maths practitioner, and your
Yeah,
questioning, thinking about well, what does this actually mean, and being the person that hasn't got
yeah.
that
I'm going to
sort of.
be the spanner. I'm going to be the spanner in the
Yeah,
works.
that's a good role to play. Yes, the devil's advocate to whatever you want to say.
Yeah,
So you picked out construction. So construction, number one, searcher, number two, expert, and number three, defender, which is interesting.
yeah.
So what does that mean? It means number one, most important is doing something worthwhile and meaningful. They feel they're
Hmm.
making a difference. Secondly, expert means that they want to do something that they have a specialism in, that they've seen as that they have a specialist knowledge around something. So that sort of fits in with construction because you don't go into construction to do everything. You have to have a specialism in most
Yeah, yeah.
cases, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then thirdly, defender is having a sense of security and stability. So things are stable. So this sort of fits in. This is sort of drivers that you'd want if you were in that environment because doing something worthwhile, people come to work to do something they feel that they're making a difference and they're helping to create an outcome. So it's like there's some bricks, there's the plan. We're going to make those bricks and we're going to turn them into a house or a building which is going to be useful. And the outcome is it's a building that people live in or work in.
Hmm.
Experts, I come to work, I'm a specialist, I'm a bricklayer, or I do this, I do that. So that makes sense. And then defender is, well, we want to do things meticulous, make sure we get things right. So you'd want those three motivations to be there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and that's exactly the same for the education management
Yeah,
and the government admin
yeah, well spotted.
and the pharmaceuticals.
Yep,
Isn't that interesting?
yeah, yeah, interesting.
So,
I
okay,
spotted.
so what do I now do with that information? If I was, let's say I was I don't marketing person,
Yes.
and I wanted to go and talk to construction companies
Yes.
about signing up to my something or other. Well, let me
My
think.
my service. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, my service of, I don't know, whatever it is.
Mm.
Well, how do I use that information to help me?
So first of all, you want to talk about it in a way that, oh, this is going to really help you make more of a difference. Firstly, yeah.
Right.
So this is going to make a difference by. This is going to help you make more of a difference by that sort of language. Um, if it's a specialist thing, then you can say this will make you more specialist. You will have this. Not every construction company has got this. This is something new. It's been tested, and this is what the outcome that we get from it.
Or what
Yeah.
about if you were to, on that one, could you also go in with the fact of going, look, you're an expert in what you do.
Mm.
The last thing you want to have to do is start worrying about this, because you need to be focusing on what you do, not on this. So let us do this bit for you.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that's a,
Well,
is that
you
a
could
way?
go in with you could go in as an expert and add to their expertise and take
Mm,
that part of the process and add value there. Definitely, yeah.
mm.
Um, but what
And
you
then you,
need to do is make sure that you give the message that this is not something that you just suddenly dreamt up overnight. It's something that's proven, and it's not. We're not risking too much here, so you don't want to be.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's the language you want to be talking about. So you sort of get it's a great example when you talk about marketing. This is a great tool to think about how you market to a sector that is
yeah,
driven by these things. Yeah.
yeah. That's really interesting. And then what about was the defender bit you were saying about it's not something that's out of the traps,
Well,
or
defender
was
is
that
driven. So someone that's driven by the defender motivator wants to know that things are proven, stable, secure, and
right? So
not
not
too
that
risky.
new one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So when you think about if you're bringing something out new and you're trying to sell to someone that's defender driven, then you need to make sure that you have plenty of data backed up, proven. You've tested it. It's this and this is the outcome, and this is it's information that you've got to give them. Make sure they've got plenty of information that you can prove that this product is actually or this service is proven and gets the results that you say it's going to get.
okay. That's very, very interesting. Isn't it interesting that the only builder is the banking one? On
Yeah,
okay, it's on number 3,
exactly.
but you
Mm.
see on number 2, you've only got 2 types. Oh, well, there's one spirit. They're only
So it's
defender
all
or expert,
defender or expert. Yeah, yeah,
apart from spirit.
yeah.
And
So,
then they've got the
but
expert in
bear
there.
in mind these are sectors we're talking about. So we're not. I suppose with regards to what we do, we're very entrepreneurial. So what we are driven by is probably more freedom. Because we like to make our own decisions, we don't want people telling us what to do, and
Mm.
that's the reason why we got our own businesses. So that's,
But I think what fascinates me is there are 9 motivators, right?
yeah.
And how many are we seeing on here? 4, just about
That's
seeing
a very
4.
good observation. Yeah. So where's the drive to be in charge? That's the director motivator. It doesn't appear. So
I mean, we've only got
nobody wants
one
to come in.
builder, so we've only got one builder, so I'm gonna discount that.
Yeah.
But we've only got 3 of the 9
Yeah. Great
in
observation
there.
there.
Isn't
Yeah.
that interesting?
So predominantly searcher, defender, and expert are very, very prevalent within all these organisations at this time. Whenever this sample was taken,
Whenever that
I'm not
sample was
sure how
taken.
long the sample was taken over. Quite a long period of time, I believe.
So
Um,
do we think then of these people, do you think we think that all these people were employed?
yes, I would majority, if not all, these are employed people, so people that go to work
Mm,
to do a job. Yeah.
mm,
So unlike us, so we're not running a business as such.
no.
Yeah. But there's bound to be some people in there that are that are there to lead a team. So if that's the case, that drive for being in control and being in a position of influence isn't showing up much.
Have you got any other list? Have you got any other lists of sectors? I want to see how they differ. I want to see
That's the only sectors I've got today, I'm afraid.
See what we got in there. Okay, so maybe then, bearing in mind, we know what we know about the searcher, we know about the expert, we know about the defender. We haven't talked much about the spirit, have we?
No, we haven't. I'll talk about that. I'm just going to bring in what Sarah said. Dan Pink in his book Drive, which is a great book about motivation, highlights the purpose as a real drive for motivation, which is the same as the searcher. Yeah. So it's so easily discounted as, oh yeah, but that's a bit fluffy. But actually, the majority of people go to work because they want to make a difference and have purpose in what they do. And if they lose purpose, then that becomes a problem because it's not being fulfilled in their work. So and it's very much about being connected to the outcome that you help to allow to happen. So it's being connected to the outcome, and that's what it is around. And it's about getting feedback on that message. So the spirit motivator is probably going to be high for you. I think it's my fourth motivator. So it's and that's about freedom, autonomy, doing things your own way, having control over the way things are done and when they're done. And that creeps in retail, which is interesting, which is
and telecommunications.
And telecommunications, yeah.
And computer software and accounting, which really fascinates me, because I tend to see accounting in, if we're talking about business archetypes, which we haven't really been through, but there's one called the conservator, which is the one that sort of like doesn't like change very much, likes to keep things as. However, I think we can all agree that the world of accounting has changed significantly since Zoom since Xero and all the online accounting packages, where accountancy is no longer history, it's more projection, isn't it? And
absolutely, yeah, that's probably the biggest change that I've seen. Obviously, you've noticed as well, in that most accountants aren't working on data that they've just got from the last year. They're working on real time, and they're also working as an advisory service with regards to the future as well.
Yeah, certainly a lot more. And for those accountants who are still wanting to have a plastic bag full of receipts dumped on their desk on April 30th or whenever it is, whenever it might be, or actually December the 15th, just before, right up near the deadline, and then work through it. I don't know, they can't really be there anymore, can they? It's not really very.
Well, the interesting thing is that accountants, we talk about that tax year end thing, that January thing that they all complain about, is that they can't do anything else in January because everything's around getting tax returns done, which is last minute from their clients. But there is a way that you can control that. You can, basically say that, if you want me to do you pay extra in January. If you want it on a discount, then get your details to us earlier. So there are ways you can manage this.
Do you have like a deadline of when you want to get your accounts done, just by the way? Do you have because I have a figure. For me, it's always been, for some reason, it's always been the end of June. I don't know why.
As soon as I've got the information to hand, I basically collate it and send it to my accountant. So with things that are delayed and all that sort of stuff. So it tends to be, if you give it another month after the end. So by the middle of May, I'll be thinking about making sure that I've got the information that I need to send to the accountant, so that I know then I'll have my tax return completed in the next couple of months by June, July time. So I know, what tax liability I have in the coming January and July. It's an interesting one.
Okay. So what do we do with this information that we've got here? I'd like to. What can we do with it now? This book sounds interesting.
Yeah, available from Amazon or always. Yes, it is indeed. Mapping Motivation.
I'm sure you've got an affiliate.
Written by James Sale, who was the creator of Motivational Maps, and Bevis Moynihan, who is a senior motivational maps practitioner, and he's a coach the to train the coaches sort of person. So he
Right.
trains coaches to use all sorts of things with NLP and motivational maps and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, okay. So what my initial thing is, we have all these frameworks, right? So we've talked about Chinese energy before. I'm quite high in metal energy. And one of the questions of people in metal energy go, well, how can we make it better, or what's missing? So I'm sort of thinking, well, if we've got these three, what are these people missing? What are they, if by just having those as their top three, what does that mean?
Well, these are the things that
What they
drive them at
are.
work. So if these are the things that are driven at work, so they've got to make sure those things are fulfilled. But obviously we've talked about that there are 9, and there's only the top 3. So there's 6 others. But what crops up in every motivational map is it tells you what your top 3 is, and we focus on that. But we also visit the lowest motivator, which we haven't got available for this sample, which is maybe for another
Why
day.
do you do that?
So the lowest motivator can often be an interesting insight into the thing that you pay least attention to. Okay, so if you think about 9 motivations, you can't fulfill them all the time, and you can't be taking action around all 9 all the time. So the top 3 are where you take in most of your action, your focus is there. The thing that is the least important to you could well be your Achilles heel. So for me, my lowest motivator has always been the director. So the thing I least want to do is be in a position of responsibility and managing people. I can teach people to do it, and I can do it if I want to, and if I need to, I will do it. But the key is to remember that if there's something that you don't really want to do, it's not a problem in the short term. But if you have to do it for the long term, it can become a problem if you're spending most of your time doing something that you're least motivated by.
Hence the reluctant leader.
Hence the reluctant leader, indeed. Yes. But it's not only management and responsibility that you can be reluctant to with regards to leadership. You could be reluctant because you like certainty. If you're going into a position of leadership, there's not an awful lot of certainty in that role. So that could be the reluctance around stepping up. Or you might have the star motivator, which is about recognition and social esteem as your lowest motivator. And that could be your Achilles heel, in that you don't want to step into the limelight because, when you're in a leadership position, you'll tend to be in the limelight. Yeah. So there's lots of different reluctances. That's the thing. It's not just about being in charge. It's about other things that will stop you taking the lead, because we all need to take the lead and show the way, and that's what you do with your money stuff, and that's what I do with my the motivation and leadership stuff, is showing people the way and getting obstacles out of our way as well. So it's not about saying that you must change the way that you get energy from your work. You've got to bear in mind what you get energy from and realize that there are things that you don't get energy from, but there might be things that you have to do. You just have to accept them and don't make it your biggest part of your role.
And can you change?
Yes, you can change. You can do, because it's all about feeling. It's about how you feel about these things. And that's what's so fascinating about motivation is it's only a feeling. It's about how you feel about something and how you perceive something. So there's no good or bad motivator. It's not. You can't say one is good and one is bad. It's just that in context, you've got to think, well, what role am I playing? What is it? What am I trying to do here? Whether it's in business or your role or whatever it is. Think about the things that you need to be driven by to get the best from that role. And if your top 3 motivators are almost in the opposite alignment to what you need to do, then you're probably having a tough time of it. Because you're not
doomed. You're doomed.
Well, you could say doomed or whatever it is. That you're heading in a different direction to the role that you're trying to. So if you are, I'm trying to think of something off. If you're driven by you want to do something purposeful, but all you seem to do every day is just do something that just generates income for the organisation. It can become demoralising, and you're not feeling that what you're doing is purposeful, and so it becomes draining. Not that what you do in essence is the wrong thing. It's just that for you, you just
Yeah, it's just
not
what you're.
connected to the outcome.
Yeah.
So you know, so it's quite subtle, and it's about how we feel about things. So these things are very personal. But you can change them, as you said, if you can think about things in a different way, put them into a different perspective, and have those different thoughts around how you perceive that motivator.
Yeah.
Then you can, given time and working on it, you can turn it into something that's actually something that you enjoy. So classic. So an example. So for me, so the STAR motivator is about getting recognition and promoting yourself. Yeah. So that is not one of my top motivators, but I make myself do it because it allows my top motivators to be fulfilled. So if I promote myself more, get in front of more people, then I can make more of a difference, share more expertise,
Yeah.
and be more creative. That's the key.
So it's very, so that struck a chord with me. So it's like, if I'm working with somebody who's not managing their money, and it's not that they don't have the ability to manage their money, most people in right mind have of sound mind have all the abilities to manage their money, but for whatever reason they don't.
Yeah.
So if I might then look at their list of values, and if wealth isn't in their top 5, top 10, or even, top 5 values, if it's not in your top 5 values, the chances are you're not going to be wealthy. But they want to be wealthy. They go, but I want to be wealthy. I want to have a big house. So then what you have to do is you have to start reframing it so that you can link what your top values are to money, because the chances are, they are going to be linked to money.
Yeah.
I want to go on nice holidays. I want to travel. Well, it costs money.
Yeah.
If I want to live in a big house, I want to have 15 dogs. That costs money. So you link everything to that.
Yep.
That's the similar sort of thing, right?
Very much so. Yeah. It's that dilemma when people work for a charity. So they're probably driven by purpose, doing something meaningful, but their drive for money is low down. But what they've got to realise is that charity can do far more good if there's a good income stream and there's money coming in. So there is a good culture around income, generating income. Because if it's not, then that charity is always going to struggle, because they're never going to have the funds to be able to do what they want to do.
Yeah. So it's about getting on that and just going out there and blatantly putting your foot on the sales pedal and just getting out there and bringing the money in. Yeah,
and doing it for a clear reason. It's the reason to bring in money so that you can do the work that we want to do, as opposed to generating money for the sake of donating money.
And there are so many people out there, loads of people that I work with, who don't go out and promote themselves. I have to say, I'm guilty of it as well. I think a lot of us people who run our own businesses, it's making endless videos and going out there, and some people telling you, oh, well, there's no point doing that, just do all this, and then there's no do it, you've got to do content and all that kind of stuff. But so many people who don't want to get themselves out there or feel embarrassed about getting themselves out there, and actually nobody really cares what you look like or whatever. There are going to be some people out there that resonate with you. You don't have to be liked by everybody, and I think that's the hump to get over, isn't it? And actually be able to go out there and do that part. And this could be anything. This could be the same with doing your accounts in your business, looking at your numbers, or it could be the same as, I don't know, organizing your processes. Because if you are working on your own, the chances are you might not be able to afford all those services at the beginning. So there are certain things that you do have to entice. I prefer to say entice yourself to do. But I guess it's how you entice yourself to do it. Yeah, really interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I know that I'm really interested over the weeks to dig in more to some of the motivators. Can you dig up any more lists like this that aren't?
Well, now if it's struck a chord and you think it's interesting, yes, definitely. There's lots of data and stuff that I've got to hand which we can delve into with regards to what motivates people.
It's good discussion points, isn't it? It's an interesting way of looking at things and how you link things to actually get yourself motivated
Well, just can I
towards
stop you
money.
there? Because the thing is,
Mm.
what we most people get wrong with motivation is they think I need to get motivated. But if you
Uh-huh.
want to get motivated, you've got to know what motivates you. So what motivates you? Get clear on that. Make sure you fulfill them, as opposed to what can I do to motivate myself. Get clear on what it is that's important to you and do that. And like I've just started a new Facebook group on the back of my book, and what I've put in a question I put in on Monday was, what are you going to do this week for no other reason but it's going to motivate you? And that's the
Ah,
mentality you've got to do, because it's about looking after your health. It's like looking after your mental health, your physical health. You've got to keep doing things to promote it and make sure it's in a good place. And motivation is like that. You've got to focus on it. I think, right, okay, what is it that I'm motivated by? And what am I doing this week that's going to fulfill them? Yeah.
sounds like a good question to sort of begin tying this up.
Yeah. So there we are. So yes, we run out of time again. Thank you for anyone that's. Thank you for Sarah for joining us,
Yeah.
and anybody else that catches this on replay. If you've got any comments around motivation, then please put them. And anything around money, what drives you, anything around motivation and money is
Or
relevant,
what
and we will
doesn't
get back
drive
to you.
you, or what doesn't as well.
Or what
Like
doesn't? Yeah,
what doesn't that you'd like to.
yeah. And what's stopping you doing things that you want to do because maybe the motivation not there or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So any question, any comment you've got around the two topics, then either of us would love to hear from you wherever you pick this up, whether it's on my channels, Fanny's channels, or whatever. Then pick it up and get in touch. Why not? We don't bite, do we?
No,
No.
not often.
Great stuff. Thanks again, Fanny. Good fun
Take
again.
care. Yeah.
We've got Easter ahead of us, so have a great weekend, whatever you're doing. And we will catch you after the Easter break once you've had lots of hot cross buns and chocolate. See you then.
Take care. Bye.